Well, students, we're going to keep working on your coil pots today. I'm excited about this. This is one that's done, so I'll show you how I did all of these things to it. So here, the first thing I would like you to do, most of you have your extra piece of clay that's on the inside. So for now, I'm just going to take it out. I'm not going to make another coil yet. I'm going to take this and I'm going to check to see what parts need smoothing. So here, usually my thumb is going to work best with just a little bit of water just to kind of blend that clay down. If you need to take a stick and roll it together, take some from the top and some from the bottom, you can do that. But most students that I've seen, this is probably the best, is just using their thumb and just smoothing that together. So since I smoothed it down, now I'm just kind of turning it and smoothing it this way also. Once you check all the smoothing, don't forget to check the top. So here it looks like this still needs a little bit of smoothing. So I'm gonna smooth around it and I'm gonna be careful that as I smooth this, that I'm not pinching the top. Now, if you don't have an extra piece of clay on the inside, I probably will give an extra piece like this and put it next to the water cup. You can see here, this clay needs some water, so I'm gonna put water on both sides. I'm gonna push it together, just like we said, we're gonna push it together like a snowball, and then we're gonna roll it up in your hands like this. If you look and see how much clay this is, if you were to take a piece from here, you would need to take a big enough piece. Because like if I only took this much, that's not gonna make a big enough coil. So you can see, I don't know, I would say this looks like it's gonna be the size of like a big bouncy ball would be enough. So I'm gonna set this aside so I can start rolling this coil out. So I added a little bit of water to it, roll it in my hand, and please remember that you need to be able to roll it this way in your hands. So from the bottom of my hand all the way to my fingertips. If you can't roll it in your hand like this, it's hard to roll it on the table. So now that I can roll it in my hands, I'm gonna set my pot aside here. I'm gonna move the water cup. And I'm gonna roll this out gently using my whole hand. You should take your popsicle stick out so that you can measure it when it's about the size. Oh, mine's getting a little bit flat. So I'm gonna tip it up so it's on the tall side, and I'm gonna put a little bit of water on it. I'm just gonna pat it back down gently. And then I'm gonna roll it out, and I can use two hands, and you can see that it's the same thickness the whole way. And it's about as long as this. I'm gonna do a quick bad example a minute, because sometimes I'll have students go really fast. It's a flat coil, they roll it in one spot, so then it's like skinny in one part and wide on another part. What we want is the same thickness, okay? So now that I measured this, I'll put the water cup back, and I'm gonna take my pot here, and in order to put this on, you could decide to put it more towards the inside. You can see it would be getting smaller. Or if I put it more towards the outside, which mine is not long enough, if I put it towards the outside, it'd be getting bigger. So here, I'm gonna put some water on this. I'm gonna put mine more towards the inside. That makes my slip, mixing my clay and my water. And I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna turn it. I'm kind of lightly pressing it together to get it to stick together. And then this extra, I can just gently trim off. And then this can get smoothed together without pinching it. Now that that is done, I need to smooth the outside. So here, I'm gonna take this and just do the same thing that I already did and smooth and blend that together. As you do this, it's probably a good idea to add a little bit of water. Smooth that in. I'm gonna do a little bit of rolling. For me, I think this is, I like to do this, but like I was saying on the first coil, students are usually pretty successful with just rolling, just blending it with their finger. Often students who do this rolling like this forget then to smooth it with their finger when you're done. So here, now that that's all done, I need to smooth it. I'm just gonna smooth it with my finger. I should do more smoothing to this, but because of time, I want you to have enough time to do yours. So here, I'm gonna finish smoothing that around. And if your pot is thick enough, then you could roll it gently on the table a little bit. I don't want you to do this if your pot is really, if this is not as thick as your finger, you should not roll it on the table. But this, sometimes if I give it just a couple of rolls on the table, it can smooth the outside edge just a little bit. But you would only do that if your pot is strong enough. So you can see that just kind of smooth that edge a little bit. So I might talk to a few students and say, yeah, yours probably would not be a good one to roll on the table if it looks like it's too thin, because then it could kind of smush everything. So now we're gonna pretend that I'm done. I should do more smoothing, but you can see I'm not using a lot of water, because if I'm gonna put a design on this pot, the design won't work if the pot is super wet. So here, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna show you a couple ways that the tools work. So we'll just pretend on this piece of clay some of the ways that the tools work. So this popsicle stick would make a nice curved shape like this. This tool here makes kind of a triangle shape like this. This tool does a few things. It's a knife tool, but I would use this end instead. It makes this mark, but if I flip it over, it would make this mark. And then there's this one also. It makes a straight line on this side, and this side makes a bumpy or a broken line. So I'm gonna do mine with two tools, and I'm gonna start near the top. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna do this triangle tool, and then I'm gonna do this broken line. And I'm keeping it close to the top. Triangle, make it look nice. Then broken line. Triangle tool, broken line. And when I get around it, I want to make sure that I'm gonna kind of have enough space to finish the pattern. So sometimes it doesn't work out perfectly, so it looks like here I could fit one here, and then it's like they're gonna be really close together right there. So might only be able to fit just enough to get part of that broken line. So sometimes it doesn't work out exactly. So here, I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna continue the pattern. So since that's triangle, below it I did broken, triangle, broken, triangle, and I just keep working my way around. I'm doing this pretty fast. I don't want you to go too quickly. So right here, it's starting to get off just a little bit. If you make a mistake, you can just kind of smooth it out with your finger a little bit. So here, just to speed this up, I'm gonna stamp this pattern in underneath all those broken lines. So underneath all of those, I'm gonna do this tool so I'm not having to switch all the time. And then I'll go back, and then under the triangle, I'm gonna do this. So you can see my pot is not really wet. If it had a lot of water, these tools would be sticking to the clay and it wouldn't be working. So that's why you wanna make sure that when you're smoothing, use a little bit of water, but not too much. Now, I would continue this all the way down to the bottom. So So here I'm just going below the broken line as my triangle tool. And as I'm doing this too, I'm just being careful not to smush it, because if I am squeezing this too much, I could end up smushing my pattern or my design. So I'm going to carry this all the way down to the bottom. This probably will be my last row. I think this looks really cool. So if you choose to, you don't have to, but if you do want to put a little bit of a design on the rim, on the top, you could do another pattern. So here, up here at the top. So I think that looks awesome. So up at the top, you could leave this nice and smooth, or if you wanted to, you can see I made a pattern. I did this one. I did curved line, and then I did dot all the way around it. I think for this one, I'm just gonna do something simple with just kind of rolling this tool and turning this and just making, instead of using two tools, I'm just gonna use one, just make a nice like rounded edge on it, like that. And I think that looks nice, and it's just nice and simple. So this is what we're working towards, getting our pots done and making sure that we've got our pattern on them. So let's have fun working on them.